I cannot believe the team that is the favorite for CeeDee Lamb's next destination, if not the Cowboys, which we would assume would be the offseason in free agency. My Washington Commanders at plus 350. The favorites to be the next team for CeeDee Lamb. This warms my heart because there would be nothing better than to add to this rivalry that's been so stale and so rotten for so long than to not only have Dan Quinn leave the Cowboys and go coach the Commanders, but to poach former Cowboys like he did defensively this offseason. But then after all this, for Jared to go out there and say, I'm just not going to pay anybody. I think we'll be just fine without CeeDee Lamb. Everything's going to be okay. For CeeDee Lamb in the offseason to put up 2 middle fingers to the Cowboys and go to my Washington Commanders, I dream of that day. Jaden Daniels throwing touchdown passes to Terry McLaurin and CeeDee Lamb. Oh, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thought. Do I think it's going to happen? Most likely, no. Am I going to dream about it tonight? Absolutely.
I think it's just like the market protecting itself, right? Because there could be free agency or there could be a trade. I don't think, obviously, like Dallas would trade him within the division.
Oh, 0% chance they trade him to Washington.
But, he's only 25 years old, and if they do, for whatever reason, let him hit free agency and he wants to stick it to a team in the division, I mean, Philadelphia is not going to have any money for CeeDee Lamb. Look at everybody they're already paying on the offensive side of the ball.
Don't need it,
Nobody wants to go play for the Giants and catch balls from Daniel Jones. We'll see what they do at the quarterback position. So Washington could make the most sense. I mean, right?
Thought of something.
New ownership, you're going to get a new stadium, and you got Jaden Big Game Daniels.
I hate that I had this thought, Trysta, but because we've talked about it, because you're actually a very level-headed Cowboys fan, so I don't actually rub it in with you as some Cowboys fans who deserve it. But I hate to paint this reality to you, but because we brought it up, CeeDee Lamb to Washington in the offseason and Dak Prescott to the Giants. Oh, my God.
Yeah, no, I mean, it has definitely crossed my mind. I don't love the idea of CeeDee Lamb going to the Commanders. That's the first time I've really felt internal rage inside the NFC East, besides for the Eagles in a while, really. Like the rest of the East hasn't really been much to do about nothing, right? And you talk about CeeDee Lamb going to the Commanders, plus 350. Ryan makes a great point. It's like a cap space thing. It's a does he want to stick it to the division thing? And then is there anybody else inside the division that can afford him and that would make sense personnel-wise? No. So, like, it's really just like a price thing. But seeing that atop of the list definitely made me wince a little, like cringe, die a little inside of my own skin. I think the team I would love him on the most would be the Chargers. I think Justin Herbert with a real deal wide receiver one, plus an awesome offensive line. Now you actually have a guy who can do everything for you. You can put him all over the field. He's young. He's generally durable. That would be the only place I'd actually like to see him go if he left the team. But Cowboys plus 650 for him to be the next team odds. I feel like I have to place that bet.
Yeah, me too.
But that's the most likely option is for him to.
They're going to pay CeeDee Lamb. Like, we've seen this historically with Jerry Jones. Remember Emmitt Smith after a Super Bowl run, sitting out the first couple games of the season, they drop a game, I want to say to Buffalo on Monday Night Football, and Jerry ends up paying Emmitt Smith because that offseason he took care of Troy Aikman. This offseason he just didn't take care of anybody. I think ultimately he pays CeeDee Lamb. Dak goes into next season as a free agent, probably pays Dak too. And then they get something done with Micah Parsons, and they just run it back with this team until they can't any longer. Because probably what happens is either they miss out on the playoffs, Mike McCarthy's fault. He's gone. Maybe even a new defensive coordinator after just 1 year. Or they get bounced early in the playoffs again, and Mike McCarthy's out. Right? And so I think that, like, there's still going to be an attractive job. And if you have CeeDee Lamb, you have Micah Parsons, you're in that division, you're the Dallas frickin' Cowboys. You know, Jerry probably thinks, okay, I could go out there and get Ben Johnson or whoever that big name is at head coach, next season. So I think ultimately they pay CeeDee Lamb. That's what I would do first. Usually I would take care of I would have taken care of Dak going into the summer. Now you screwed yourself because now Tua has been paid and Jordan Love's been paid. And
it only gets more expensive.
Like Jordan Love only has one playoff win, and he's now the highest paid quarterback in the league. What's Brock Purdy going to get paid if San Francisco does what they've done the last 2 seasons with him behind center? So Dak's going to look to ball out this year and go into next season and get his deal. But CeeDee Lamb might not show up until he gets his deal. And I think Jerry is going to be like, right now he's trying to lowball everybody, right?
Yep.
We could see what we got, one last dance. But at the end of the day, like if these guys are, if he's not going to show up, Jerry doesn't want to go out a loser. He still does want to see this last Super Bowl, and he's not getting any younger. So I think I'm with you, T. You want to give me plus 650 odds and allow me to bet this anywhere? Please let me, and I'll bet the Cowboys. I'm with you.
Another player that's going through contract issues right now as well, Maggie, is CeeDee Lamb, my team, the Dallas Cowboys. It's a tough one right now to be a Dallas Cowboy fan. There isn't a lot of hope on my side. Running game, kind of non-existent. The issues with Jerry Jones and CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott's contract negotiations, Micah Parsons is going to need to be paid. What's your general outlook on the Cowboys this season, and what do you think is reasonable to expect?
Well, I mean, I'd ask you guys too. Didn't in some books their win total came down by an entire game? Like, were they 10.5 last year and they're 9.5 this year when they didn't like meaningfully lose anything? So to me, I think that tells you a little. Tony Pollard, I guess, in the run game, but he really didn't have a good season last year. So I think the general outlook after they lost to Green Bay last year was like, this team is just never going to do it. Like, it's just not going to happen. As far as what's going on with the contract stuff, I think they don't want to pay Dak Prescott. And Jerry doesn't like paying people who aren't working. You know, he doesn't want to pay people to sit around. I just think he's filibustering this thing until the very end. And I think he doesn't want to pay Dak Prescott. The problem is no one can answer this question for me. And Trysta, maybe you can if you're the big Cowboy fan. Who else is going to play quarterback for them? Well, you're going to go out into the open market and get what? You know, you're going to put Trey Lance in there? Maybe. Trey looked fine. But is Mike McCarthy still going to be the head coach to develop him? So if you want to move on from Dak Prescott, fine. But tell me who's going to be the quarterback, or give me an idea of who's going to be the quarterback, because it's a team that's in the mix every year, as we know, and then just, you know, gets devastated in the playoffs.
There isn't one, Maggie. There isn't a quarterback. There's not one. I don't know if you guys have seen teams without quarterbacks like the Saints, and they messed around and got Derek Carr, the ghost of him. There's no one else to replace him. You got to pay him the $60 million now. Go ahead, Ryan.
Who do you like to win the AFC East? You got the Bills without both starting safeties, and now Matt Milano's hurt. Obviously, we know about like the offense. You got the Jets with Aaron Rodgers calling this like the most challenging training camp, even though he wasn't even there for the whole thing. You have the Dolphins, and Tua's got people that actually believe in him. And I'm not like the Patriots are going to be the worst team in the league. I think they win 2 games. Who do you like in the East?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys can see here. I'm switching around my office a little bit, but my signed Jim Kelly autograph is back over here. It's a little off camera. So I grew up in upstate New York. I'm a diehard Buffalo Bills fan. This has been like the best era since I was a child, you know, the Josh Allen era. And I don't think they're going to take a massive step back. However, I do think that the Jets are going to win this division. I do. I think this is setting up, and if you guys want to go Super Bowl picks, we can talk about it. I think that this is setting up for like maybe an all-time season for them. And I don't think that's just being in New York and reading the like, you know, a drinking the Kool-Aid on the Jets. I got to go out to their training camp, but they had this top 5 defense that was the reason they won 7 games last year with maybe the worst quarterback to ever play. Like in the running, Zach Wilson, the worst quarterback to ever play, not just like play for the Jets, like maybe play football. And they won 7 games. And so the defense is still good. Saleh can run a defense. Aaron Rodgers making all the checks at the line of scrimmage. I think it could be setting up well for them. Their schedule's not that bad either. This is like if Rodgers is healthy, obviously, and I'm betting on that.